to order. Can you hear me on my last one? Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me remind anybody joining by Zoom to just chime in and state your name, please. Okay, any adjustments to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay, thank you. Acceptance of the minutes of the meeting of September 23rd.
I'll approve the minutes as printed.
Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the meeting of September 23rd. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? They're adopted. Communications and public comments. School consolidation withdrawal. Mr. Mason.
Okay, well, I'm here just to really give you a heads up. There is a petition that is starting to circulate around town, which reads, "Shall the voters of the town of Westminster approve the withdrawal of the town of Westminster from the Wyndham Northeast Union Elementary School District and authorize and instruct the select board to take any action necessary to accomplish such withdrawal and the reestablishment of the town school district." I've got several copies of that, which I'll put here and you can bring out. Right? And then there is, I have 5 articles which Fletcher Proctor came up with. I can't take responsibility for them, but they are, in a sense, suggestions for what, if 130 people sign this and you have to deal with it next meeting, there would be a special town meeting to address this issue of withdrawing from the Wyndham Northeast Union Elementary School District. And these are some ideas of what the articles of that town meeting might look like. So there's another couple of things which would probably be of interest, especially for next meeting. So as you know, we were forcibly merged with Athens and Grafton now a year and a half ago, and as part of the Act 46 consolidation process, it turns out that we were forced to merge. It hasn't gone terribly well. I mean, we get along with Athens and Grafton just fine, but it has resulted in a lot less community involvement in the schools and control over the schools. It's also resulted in over a 5% increase in spending. There's not really much in the way of efficiencies that you can achieve by combining towns that you can't drive to and from to easily. And the schools are half an hour apart. Halifax and Reedsboro, who also were unified, discovered that there is a law that allows, and made use of this law a month or two ago, that allows towns to withdraw from a union district. It's a law that's been in the books for a long time now, 50, 60 years. And so now that's causing a number of districts where the mergers haven't achieved any useful outcome to look at that and say, maybe we should go back to having a town school district. So we're one of those. Athens and Grafton are very much in favor of it, very much in favor of us withdrawing, so that then the step is we withdraw, they approve it, then they already have had a joint contract. They have one school between them that is used. They would be happy to stay that way, but we have to withdraw. They have to vote to approve that withdrawal, and then we're essentially back to something similar to what it was, where Athens and Grafton work together and Westminster runs its own school. Still all under the rubric of the Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union. But anyway, that's and the reason why I'm bringing this up now is that when I would actually prefer not to, because it's so awkward trying to have democracy work when we've got a pandemic going on, but is that it's likely the legislature will maybe close this window, or at least consider closing this window. And given the fact that we just don't seem to be gaining anything from the so-called Wyndham Northeast Union Elementary District, we would, I think the town would prefer to run its own schools and go back to a town school district. So we'll see whether we get the signatures. Also somewhat of a difficult job when it's hard to go visiting with people and so on, but I'm pretty sure we will, and present that to you at the next select board meeting.
Will you give me the information prior to that meeting so that I can get it in their packet? Typically, I do it the Friday before the Wednesday.
I will, you mean the information that is the petition?
That they would be voting on, yes.
Yeah, well, what they'll be voting on is on petition. And then what I gave
I
to
just
you.
gave that all to them, so I don't.
Okay, I'll email you.
Okay, so please, yep, and then I'll be able to put it back in their package.
Sure. And you know, those articles were initial thoughts of what the articles of a special town meeting would be. I don't know whether we would go with it or not. They're certainly good ideas.
When you say town meeting, are you saying Australian ballot, or we get together and vote it on the floor?
I think in this kind of situation, and you know, I'm not a parliamentarian, but I think I understand that in order to if we want to have an Australian ballot, we have to vote on doing an Australian ballot at a special town meeting. So it almost, from that standpoint, makes sense just to have the vote at a special town meeting, rather than vote to establish an Australian ballot. But either is a possibility. But I think that's what has to happen. I'm not sure you guys could just say we're going to vote on this by Australian ballot. I think it has to be a town vote.
And once that special meeting happened and say the town voted to withdraw from this, would that be a done deal then?
No.
No.
That would then go to Athens and Grafton.
Yeah,
They have to have their own town votes to
Yeah.
approve that.
right.
They are gung ho about it.
Right.
In fact, I'm getting more emails from people in Athens and Grafton than I am from people in Westminster,
Yeah.
saying, get on it. So,
The last meeting we were outside in order to spread it around. I'm just not being pessimistic, but how physically would we hold a meeting like this again?
you know, I don't know.
Discussions have already started and there is no good answers yet,
Well,
so.
originally, we couldn't use the school because the school was closed, but is the school open now? So there might be some way to have a meeting if people were dispersed and we met all so I mean, that's a possibility. The problem was before the school was not at all open.
Right.
I'm just saying that's one idea. Yeah.
100 square feet doesn't leave a lot of people able to attend.
Well, it may not snow before in December too.
But if we go backwards from when we do this before, we have, how many days from if it was next meeting and we say yes, then you have how many days to warn?
30 to 40.
30 to 40 days to warn it. So we'd be in December no matter what.
December 15th is what the date was
The
thrown
date on
out.
the petition is December 15. The reason for that is that gives Athens and Grafton time to warn their meeting and get it done before the legislature has too much of a session.
So you're saying that legislation could come back in January with a new committee and try to close this down so you can't do it?
Right.
What's stopping them from, you don't think they can reverse it either?
They could, at this point, it's hard to know where the legislature is. The legislature could say, you know, this merger thing hasn't worked out very well. But, and let's leave it on the books that towns can withdraw. But on the other hand, there are certainly are loud voices saying, this is ridiculous, we just forced these towns to merge, and now they're withdrawing. And that was true with Reedsboro and Halifax. The Secretary of Education and the Board of Education approved it because they had to approve it because it's law. They really didn't have a choice. But Secretary French said, "I'm not happy about approving this, but I have to." So you know, there are of course multiple opinions on it all at the legislative level.
Would there be any repercussions, you know, grants and like that, stuff that you funding? Would the state say, hey, you wanna play games? We can play games.
I don't think so. We'd be a legitimate school district. You know, if the Secretary of Education and the Board of Education approves it, as they have had to do with Halifax.
They don't have a choice, right? They kind of have to approve it.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. I haven't heard of anything that, you know,
Good.
Any other questions, David?
The cost to put on an election, we put so much money in our budget, so I assume that because we're calling it, it's coming out of our budget. The cost to have it as a town meeting should be less than if it was an Australian ballot, right?
You would think, yeah.
But it would definitely come out of our budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no school district now. It's a unified.
Yeah. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unfinished business. FY21 equipment purchase, dump truck construction.
In your packet, you have, what you requested is some suggestions of where we could come up with the additional 27,000 and change. And I've highlighted them in your packet. So these are suggestions, these are not etched in stone, but between Chuck and I, we've looked at them and agreed that this is where we could possibly not get the extra culverts and drainage fabric, etc., that we typically would. The state permit has dropped in the last year to $1,350, so there's $650. Contracted services, we would keep that to a minimum and save $2,000. Miscellaneous and training, typically we can pretty much call that shot, so we'd save about $350 on that. And then equipment, building maintenance, we'd hold off on any major repairs to save about $4,000. And gas, fuel, and oil, if it maintains the level of pricing that it did last year, we could save about $8,000, and repairing parts about $5,000. So between all of those, that is enough to purchase the 10-wheel dump truck.
Is there, would there be any serious problems with cutting the building maintenance, equipment building maintenance? No.
Again, we'd have to play this by ear. If all of a sudden we had an emergency, then we'd have to look for something else. But this is a good start to let us know that, yes, it's capable, we're capable of doing it. It's just a matter of where and how we save that money. So again, emergencies are emergency, and
Right.
we'd have to scramble something.
At this point, our fuel system, the pumps and tanks have just got inspected. The septic system has just been pumped and inspected. Furnace has just been checked, inspected and okayed. So I can't foresee anything major going at this point.
And have we set out bids for this?
Yes, we did, and we got 2 letters back from the companies that we use, and neither one would give us a price, said that they would defer to HEG in Westminster, Vermont.
And a good chunk of that culvert money, we're gonna be getting back after the work is completed on Forest.
On
Road.
Forest Road, that's correct.
Through the grant, so. By spring, we should be in
By
good shape.
winter, we should be reimbursed. So I hope that'll-
Do you need anything from us? Do you need this information?
You don't have to vote on it, it's in the budget, so, you asked me to, locate monies, and I did. At this point in time, we will move forward and, get the truck to us.
So money comes back to wait for next winter, or are you talking about this winter?
This coming.
This coming winter, the work has to be done by December 31st, yes. So we'll be there shortly thereafter.
Any other questions?
I have a comment, I guess. And that is being that I'm kind of disappointed that we went to all the work of putting this budget together and going over it line by line. And if the plan was to buy a 10-wheeler instead of a 6-wheeler, then why didn't it come out when we were doing the budget? Because I find it hard to believe that you guys didn't have it in mind that you were gonna buy a 10-wheeler.
I cannot answer that. I heard discussion on it, but no decisions were made at that point. And in fact, the decision was only made very shortly prior to the meeting that we explained that we were going to be over budget by 27, 20, almost 28,000.
Which is the difference between the 6-wheeler and the 10. Basically.
Basically,
And this comes out of the 180,000 equipment reserve fund,
the
or
130,000.
130, whatever it is. So, I was gonna bring this up at budget time, would it make more sense, since we know every year what you're going to replace, that instead of just having a set amount of money, you could say, this year we need a 10-wheel dump truck, and this is what it's gonna cost, and so it's in the budget with maybe a couple thousand for,
Chuck, myself, and Craig are working on that,
okay,
so that this doesn't happen again.
this makes more
We want
sense.
to give you a 7-year forecast of
Right.
each, for the next 7 years. So it isn't really what you're paying for the truck, also what you're getting in trade. 'Cause
Right,
that's what's out of your pocket. So that's what we're getting together to come back, so then we can show you for the next 7 years, and then where a loader would come along, where an excavator would come along, so that some of those are 10 or 15, some of the trucks are on 7, so that basically we lay out all equipment.
Yeah.
And we would know that in 5 years, we need this much, in 6 years, we need this much.
yeah,
In answer to his question, we order them all a year ahead of time, 10 for 6-wheelers. Yeah, probably some of it was our fault not passing, but originally, there was a 6-wheeler on the order. It wasn't like we didn't order, we ordered 10 and sent up here.
yeah,
This X amount that the company's different now, but we ordered a year ahead of time. And here's a 6-wheeler, here's a tandem. Just kind of wait to the end because they're all there, then you grab which one you want, where it used to be, you ordered what you want, you can't. So right now, we're putting orders in for all of next year, we're almost done all of next year. So even now, Chuck has, ahead of time, started to discuss which are you gonna do next year. Just the times have changed.
Well, the trucks are, I mean, we have the trucks on schedule anyway. Do we not?
We do. The thing is this was a discussion, on changing the style of truck to keep up with the times, and we're trucking farther, and so it all came about that, the six-wheelers are slowly but surely, they have their use, and so we're still got a couple of them, but, to jump up to a 10-wheeler for trucking, makes more sense. Less travel getting sand, between, in the storm, within the storm, so,
In the defense of us, he was brought in way too late in that discussion. He should have been brought back in that discussion months ago.
Yeah.
But it was just wrong.
Well, as I said, I'm very disappointed that we're, scrambling to try to find money for a truck that when we ordered, or we budgeted for one, and then we ended up with something else entirely. And I don't think that's the way we should be doing business.
No, it's a good point. You're right.
Susan,
Yeah.
when you can break free, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. State the name.
Nate Stoddard. So, thank you very much, Sheldon, for your comments. I feel exactly the same. What truck number is this six-wheeler?
The truck that's getting replaced is, truck number 7.
And what year is that truck?
Truck number 7 is a 2014.
Okay. So is that the truck in your capital plan? That's essentially what you guys are talking about, is that you have a capital equipment plan that has a rolling equipment replacement. Is that the truck in your plan that was scheduled to be replaced this year?
Yes.
Okay, so then you decided in the 11th hour to change it to a 10-wheeler, which I get. I'm just trying to get caught up a little bit. The last meeting, you couldn't hear you guys at all, so I'm just trying to get caught up a little.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That will be upgraded. That's the plan.
Yeah, and that's over the past, according to the worksheet Russ provided, over the past 5 years, that truck is the third highest in maintenance costs. So it makes sense that that one gets replaced. But I guess again, it's, disappointing that there wasn't some more forethought in budgeting time period. And my questions about where you're finding the 27,000, I guess I will leave for the budget discussion. Is that where that's appropriate, Susan?
No, that's for the next budget. I think, we're gonna leave, unless people have a problem. I have no problem with the, figures that you have given me, where you have found me the 27,000. And I think, Nate, if you want to see a copy, you can get at the town office to see these savings that Russ just discussed. So.
No, I have it.
Okay.
My questions and comments are going to be, and again, what I was saying is I think it's appropriate for there's a line item, I believe, for budget conversation. Maybe my questions of these savings numbers not reflecting over into your next year budget and being reduced is for the budget discussion. So basically, if you're chopping 8,000 out of your fuel and oil this year, why is your fuel and oil proposed next year the same number?
That'll be part of the budget discussion.
Then I'll wait to follow up with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion on that issue? Town reappraisal, options, funding, bids.
You asked to table it. In your packet, you have the ledger sheet that shows how much money we have in our reappraisal fund. So we do have enough to put it out for a complete bid if you so desire, or doing an option of partial or whatever you so choose.
How much time we got to, we don't have to make that decision right away.
That's correct.
I guess that's the question.
You, there's not a deadline, Craig, but, you should put it out to bid, and that will take some time, and spring is typically a good time to reassess properties, so, spring, summer. So if you don't start now with a direction, then we're gonna be scrambling
True, but
during the season that they should be reappraising.
we're in different times. So for us to hire some company that's gonna go to every house, and we got this COVID-19 going on, aren't we a little early to try to figure that out?
All I'm after is what your direction is, and whether we wait from that direction, that's fine. Or if you're going to use a company, I would say that would be up to them to
I guess I'd feel
distinguish
comfortable, and
between.
I'm not against it, but I would say before we move further, I would like to have that company come and explain to us how they're gonna agree how they're gonna appraise every house and go to the house, and a lot of people won't let you in their house. Or you don't blame
They
them.
do that all the time.
I
I
know,
mean, every
but-
year they do that, so
We've never been, it's the COVID-19 on.
I totally agree.
We would do that after we got the bids and settled on the company?
I would say, I don't think they'd come to me, but if he contacted one and said, how are you gonna handle it if you did do our town? How are you gonna handle contacting all these people and actually going to their homes and having them show you your home and everything? I would think there'd be a lot of people in Westminster would be upset about it, but I could be totally wrong. And then how are you gonna have grievances? And, I'm sure if you're that company, you must be figuring it all out and pick up some plan for it. But as a select board, the minute we pass it, I would assume there's gonna be a lot of people asking, how are we doing? And that's all, I'm just trying to
So
figure
more
out.
information.
Yeah, more information only because of the COVID-19.
Right, I understand.
Okay, how does this company approach and delicately figure out how to get around and go to these homes and see these people?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, people are not allowed to let them.
So we could, Chuck?
Could that criteria be part of your bid process? So you ask
I'm not saying.
how they're gonna do it, put it in their explanation, part of their bid, so then when you choose, you go, well, they're gonna do it this way, but these guys are gonna do it this way. I like this way better. That's what I'm saying.
It's just strictly the COVID-19, is how do they plan on handling?
Right, that's what I mean, yeah, how they
That's
gonna
a
do
good
it.
idea, yeah. And are we still discussing the reappraisal versus the update, or have we
I
decided?
thought we were.
I'm pretty sure, Mr. Clodfelter went over that in depth. I thought we discussed COVID-19. I thought we discussed, the triage methodology they would use to, offset or try to offset the on-site, concerns raised by COVID-19. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that specifically is exactly what we went over with him when he was on the phone, unless I missed something.
I agree.
So we did go over it. Now, I'm not saying we can't amplify it and have more of a discussion, certainly we should, but I'm pretty sure he did discuss the fact
He
that they,
discussed it, that in the books, there were supposed to be pictures and write-ups.
Right.
He's also discussed he wasn't comfortable that we had done it correctly, and that it was totally updated. He discussed that, and that there wouldn't have to be several visits.
right, but we had discussed, we had raised the concern over COVID-19. And I believe they have he has a certain mechanism or a certain way that they do it.
I don't remember him explaining how he would.
I thought that he did.
But still, I like the idea of being part of the bid process, so if
Yeah.
anybody's bidding on it, that'll be part of the specifications. How do you plan to address the?
Two things, appraise it and grievance. Because if you grieve your taxes, you have a right to go in front of more than one person too. And that these people we'd have to have hearings, have it set up and everything else.
I don't know, I may be missing something. Obviously, you had a committee that's met with providers of the
You might have been in Maine when
Oh,
we
okay,
discussed
that's,
this.
because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that this is the least good time to try to engineer a major reappraisal, because it's just, there are some people who seriously don't let their friends in, they don't let their family in their houses. And so to try to work around that when it's not, we could wait a year or two and possibly everything will be different. I just don't think we need to push for this thing now. That's my feeling.
I mean, right now, Russ, we have a choice, because the state does not mandate that.
Not yet, but as Mr. Gladfellow said,
He was
last
warning us.
meeting, he warned us that it's very close. It could
Yeah.
happen as soon as
And we've
spring.
been close before, and then the next year, it wasn't so close. so-
Well, it's gonna be closer because of the amount of money people are paying for houses right now,
That's what
which
he
are,
said.
yeah, but it's not a normal kind of way. It's not normal. It's out of the normalness.
And it's
And it's
true,
gonna
though.
change the figure a lot.
So are we thinking we want to wait a few more months?
That's
Make
my
decision?
thought. I don't know
Okay.
where
That would
the-
be
We'll
mine.
table this issue till.
Yeah. And I guess I didn't understand what a partial one was either, too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Table it till when?
Table it till, let's see,
First of the year.
November, first of the year.
So January?
First meeting in January.
Honestly, yeah, we've been starting on to tell the people, and they haven't got their second tax bill yet, too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Right.
Anything else on that? Petitions for allocations, letters.
You requested the 7 parties to write to you with their appropriation needs because they're not getting signatures this year. In their packet, you have one additional one, visiting nurses. They're asking for a $2,500 increase from their original ones. This is their first year. And we are still missing 2 of the original that did not respond. But to be fair to them, I was gone this afternoon to site visits, so they could have emailed them to me. But most everybody really thanked you for that opportunity, and that when we start doing the warning, that these would be on there. And at that point, we would discuss terms and et cetera. So as soon as I get the others, I will forward them
Okay.
to you.
So do we have to go through one by one and decide what we're going to, we don't have to do that yet? Well, I mean,
You don't have to do it yet, but you have folks on TV right now waiting for an answer. So it is up to you, but again, the warning does not have to be set right now, that's for sure.
I mean, I guess the decision, as far as I'm concerned, is, and I guess my thought originally was that we would put the same amount as they were granted last year.
On the warning.
On the warning.
And of course, it can be adjusted on the floor.
Yeah,
Well, how do we handle the one that keeps asking every year for more than they don't get it?
well, it would be the same, it would be the
Well,
same
they
they got
have-
last year, because no signatures, so.
The same as they asked last year, or the same as they were
Same
granted?
as they were granted last year.
So this amount they're asking, isn't that a lot more than what they were granted? See what I'm saying?
35.
Yeah, right. It's just, this is the same group that asked for that 10,000 every year, we only gave them 35. Well, their letter is saying they want to ask for the 95 again.
Right. And the visiting nurse is doing the same thing, they're asking for an increase.
Hello. This is Sharon from Visiting Nurse and Hospice for Vermont and New Hampshire.
What's your last name, Sharon?
Jagir.
Thank you, go ahead.
You're welcome. So if we can get the signatures, would we be able to petition for the increase? The only reason I'm asking is that this year, due to COVID-19 and hospitals closing, and only staying open for elective services, we took in patients that were high risk that couldn't go to the hospital and continued to serve them with no reimbursement from Medicare or Medicaid. And we did increase the number of visits in Westminster by almost 50% this year compared to last year. So I'm just wondering if we are able to get the signatures required, if you would consider that 2,500.
Well, why, if they're asking for it and we put it as an article, we're the select board, are not giving the money anyways, they still, so I don't really have a serious problem. In other words, these are just articles put on the floor and they still have to be voted on. You know what I'm saying? But they can ask for more all the time, and they get, whether they get the signatures or not, doesn't mean they have it. They still gotta go on the
No,
floor.
I understand.
And they can amend it on the floor and ask, so I don't really think, that's one of the selectmen having a problem with them saying, okay, let's put it as an article and we'll bring it up.
I mean, visiting nurse will get, because they've had it for so long, they will automatically get the amount that they've always asked for.
Right.
So I would have to, from my opinion, if they wanted 25, I don't know, with the COVID.
But as a select board, we have the authority to say, yes, go ahead and put the article on the floor without the signatures in this case. But we're not giving them the money, they still have to be voted on the floor, so I don't really think I have that much of a problem to ask them to go get the signatures. You see what I'm saying? Because we're not like we're granting them the money.
No, I understand what you're saying. So essentially, but to be fair, any of the other applicants who are not getting signatures could come in and say, well, we want to up our request also this year. And we would, to be fair, we'd have to say, okay, that's.
That's true, but they can get a chance to get it voted down, whereas they don't ask for it, they're all set, right?
Well,
Right.
no, people still have to vote.
If you've got 3 years,
Oh, if you got 3 years.
you got your 3
Yeah.
years, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay, you wouldn't ask. You decide you want to ask, now you got to go back and have an article put on the floor. So the only ones that might ask would be somebody who's less than 3 years.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
But
This is the only one that's got their 3 years and they're just asking for it.
they've got the 3, so they have a right, they would go get the signatures and they would bring it to
Right.
us and they would go to the vote.
So it's a difference.
Yeah, that's different than the other one we talked about,
Right.
that they still have a right to ask for that amount of money. There again,
Mhm.
that's a little different than us just saying yes, but you can only have what you had last year.
Right, I understand.
Karen, are you still there?
Sure.
It's Sharon. Yes, I'm still here.
Thank you for all your effort and that for the community during this. Really, really appreciated
Well, we
helping.
thank you for your support of our services. We greatly appreciate all that Westminster gives to the VNH as well.
And I just wanted to amplify what you had said to make sure that I heard it correctly. 25% increase isn't remotely close to really the capital expenditure or the additional outlay that your organization made because of the extraordinary impact of COVID, correct?
That is correct.
And again, thank you for everything you did throughout this process.
Well, we're glad to do it. You know, we're here to help people, and we couldn't do it without your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's your pleasure?
I don't have a personal problem. I think they shouldn't have to go get the signatures because they still have to get up in the town meeting and ask for the money. So I really don't have a problem with it. I think it's the other one I had a little bit of like, I still think they even have a right to ask for what they want to ask for.
Well, then,
But-
so will everyone else, so that's fine.
No, I don't know. I'd be more comfortable if we went back and granted them just what they got last year, which was $3,000 some odd dollars, but.
This is a year of special circumstances, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you want to grant visiting nurses?
I would,
1,400 to the,
do we need, do we need to have that as a, I think it is, because it's an article, we need to have the select board vote to allow them to do it. We've
Yes.
never done this before. because-
That's correct. You need to go through each one of these, but it doesn't have to be this evening, but
Mhm.
you can.
But since she's right there, why don't we let her know by the select board voting on it? To be fair to
We'll
them.
vote on that one at least.
Yeah, so at least we're fair to them. So I'll make a motion that we authorize who are we authorizing to print
Visiting
the
nurse
article?
and hospice for Vermont, yeah.
Yeah, to not have to have the required signatures, and it will become an article on the town, meeting.
At the amount of
I'm trying to find it, it's
14,000?
is that what, I'm saying, it's 2,500, right, so she's asking for 14, that's correct, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
But before you do this, and I don't have a problem with where you're going with it, I think we need to very seriously talk about the precedents we're setting, and we gotta decide, you know, whether we're gonna go back next year, if we're over this COVID, or we're back to a halfway normal situation, whether we're going to go back and say, okay, you didn't get signatures last year, and this is all of these ones that we're kind of agreeing with here. We're either gonna have the signatures when they ask for more money or we're not. So, does a visiting nurse need to come back next year and for the following 3 years with signatures? Because we're setting a precedence here.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I thought we
I
were,
just think that, I mean, there has been, it's not a precedent that's just for us. I mean, there are, for example, one of the things is if you want to run for office, you have to get so many signatures in order to be on the ballot.
Correct.
And they're stopping that, but just for this year. That doesn't mean that they're making a precedent that will follow. It's just during the COVID that,
I was agreeing with you. I thought the only reason why we had authority to even do this was because the Secretary of State or whoever gave us permission to say, because of it, you don't have to do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the right to do that.
That's correct.
And so next year will be like, this year never even happened.
Exactly it.
Never even happened.
Maybe we should amplify the motion to specifically state that we are taking the leave of the Secretary of State to make a special exception because of the COVID crisis. In this particular case, Vermont Nurse and Hospice, and I'm not taking anything away from everyone else who's done amazing during this, but specifically for the fact that she's representing that they went well out of pocket to assist our citizens in distress. And I think that's what this is all about. That's why we're giving the waiver. And I think it's more than worthwhile and certainly shows more than just empathy. These are the people who we're relying on to get us through this.
And that going back to what Sheldon's bringing up, he's just concerned that.
I'm
And I'm going like, well, we didn't even have a choice until this time. And now they're letting us choose, and I'm with you, let's choose to allow them to have it. But I wasn't under the assumption that we're gonna do it next year.
Right, no.
No, this is an exception that we're taking because of the COVID.
But I think we've got to state that.
That's what I said.
Okay.
And because based on what you wrote, Brett, I said we should amend our motion to specifically
I can amend
reflect.
it so that this is only good for, what is our next town meeting? For the fiscal year 21-22.
2020.
The one in March.
Because it comes March. which
March of 2021.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, yeah, it'll be good for the meeting in March of 21.
Following the Secretary of State's guidelines.
Right.
We should have a second before we discuss more, but I have a question.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
So does this count as one of their 3 years?
I would say if we're gonna
I
say,
would, if they pass, yeah, because that's the whole question is, if you keep amending different dollar amounts every year, it says it has to be the same amount. So you, even though you ask for the same amount and you don't get it, it doesn't count. You see what I mean? You gotta keep getting, so if you're asking for 3,000, at least I understood, you have to have 3 years in a row that you get granted 3,000. If 1 year they only give you 2, you gotta start over again unless you wanna go.
Okay, my question is
Yeah.
if this passes at the amount that they're requesting, does it count as one of their years?
Why wouldn't it if it gets passed on the floor?
That's what I'm trying to clarify.
Yeah. What would you prefer? I would, you know,
We're only,
make it simple if we just said.
we're only signing the articles to put it on the floor. We have nothing to do with voting it.
Right,
Pass it.
I know, but,
So if they go in front of the voters and get it passed, I don't know how you would argue that you can't count it. It's almost like saying, well, we'll let you have it, but you, because you didn't get an article signed, we're not gonna count it as a year. I mean, somebody's gotta make a call to somebody else besides us to find that rule.
At this point, we don't even know how many people you can have at town meeting
Yeah,
in March, so.
yeah.
I think we can have that discussion a long time. I don't think we all know that answer, to be honest with you. But I think we
So we still haven't answered Russell's
I was gonna
question.
say,
No,
Exactly, but
I don't know the answer to that, but you call in and find it out.
who's he gonna call?
And does it,
every town has different rules. And ours happens to be 3 years with signatures at the same amount and approved. So I'm just asking just a simple question. If this passes at $14,000, does it count for year one of 3 year?
I would say yes.
I'm having a hard time for you to explain why you wouldn't. I really don't understand
because
why.
it's without signature.
I'm just
So
double
you
checking.
need
I
3
wanna know.
years with signature,
I
in which
agree.
case this year wouldn't count, you have to go 1, 2, 3. And
That would be my interpretation,
yeah,
but
and how difficult is that, you know, I mean, it's, you know.
Well, all right, whatever, I guess.
If the point is, if the reason that you have and people have to get the signatures for 3 years, it's, I mean, one assumes that it means that, and then have it approved. Because if it doesn't get approved the first year, then it doesn't act.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but if it's approved by a vote of the town, even though they didn't, we only do the portal to get them onto the warning. But once they're on the warning, then it's the town that's deciding whether it is. So I think that I personally would think that if somebody gets it voted the first year, you know, that we should count it as their first year. They still have to get the signatures for the other
But,
2
you know,
years.
Russ does bring up a point, now that I agree with him. So, for example, we're doing visiting nurse. We should tell all those people that if they don't get the votes, the select board decides we're not gonna count it, is what he's asking, because we have a right as the select board to say, we'll let you have the articles, but we're not gonna count it because you didn't get the votes. So they could go back and say, well, the heck with it, I'm gonna go get the votes then, because at that point, we would have to count it, right, Sheldon?
the signatures.
Yeah, go get the signatures, we would have to count it.
Yeah.
If that's the case, we should decide tonight and then tell those people that here, yeah, the select board's gonna do it, you don't have to have the signatures, but you're not gonna get counted as part of the 3. And if you do, you gotta go get the signatures.
I think that makes it much clearer that way. So essentially it would mean 1 more year of people having to get
Unless
signatures.
we as a vote say, no, we're gonna count it.
Well, it's kind of silly.
Whatever.
all of it.
Mhm.
But these people who gave this thinking that, well, this is part of my 3 years, we should at least tell them if that's the way we're gonna do it.
Okay. So you think it should count? You don't think it should count?
I don't think you should count.
Kevin, do you have anything?
I think it should count. I think,
Mhm.
again, the COVID-19 creates the year is not a mulligan. It's not erased off the record. Secretary of State said we can make the decision. I think we should make that decision. I do agree with Toby that I don't think we should put any additional burden on, and to be fair to everyone, any of them, the request being made by Vermont, the nursing outfit is more than reasonable, given what they do and what they had to do to meet this crisis. So they went out of their way to assist us. I think we're being hyper technical by simply forcing, oh, we'll go get those signatures.
Craig?
I'm for counting it, really. I'm going like, if we say they don't need signatures, then we should count it.
Yeah,
Okay, that's just me.
counting.
Okay.
Make a note. We still have a motion on the board.
So did you vote?
No,
It's not a vote, but I'm in favor of having it counted.
Okay, so 4-1. Thank you.
But this is not the motion. The motion is for the visiting nurses, whatever amount, 2,500,
14,000.
14,000.
they're asking for 14,000, and we're
Right.
gonna, as a select board, grant them to not have to have the signatures so that it can be put on as a article.
And is there any more discussion about that? Let's vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. That passes.
Thank you.
Draft of new personnel policy. Is there an update?
No, my colleague is waiting for me, it's my fault, but I will diligently try to get together with him this week coming up, so.
So noted. Craig is going to be diligent.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hold harmless agreement, Chris Harlow, Bettina Berg.
You skipped your next
Did I?
one.
Oh, that budget. Oh, okay, no, I haven't done that. Okay. So the last meeting, we talked about going over the first 2 pages of the budget, of the next budget. I'm deciding on some things so that you're not doing it all at once. So, let's do that.
We're ready.
So we're starting the first page. Yeah, page 1 is salaries and selectmen, salaries and wages, selectmen salaries, same as last year, 5,800. How's that sound? Anybody want to argue for a raise? No. Okay. Reasonable. Clerk's salary. And this includes that was increased this year, is that correct?
That's
To
correct.
$70 a meeting. So that would bring it to $1,680. Any discussion about that? That seems reasonable to me. Social Security.
I needed to grab a number for employee-based rates so that I can estimate what the Social Security, retirement, and health benefit would be. So you had an issue last year of 3.0. So I used 2.5. That was a flip of a coin. That'd be up to you to determine that, whatever you want me to use.
And, I mean, what we've done is put that in the budget and then in the 1st of June,
June.
end of June, see what the actual cost of living is and adjust
Exactly.
it.
You just don't want to go too low. Then if you did have a 3.5% increase, then you would be in a world of hurting because you would be overspending. So I don't know where you want that number.
I think 2.5 is reasonable. Kevin's looking up the cost of living.
The only problem, we get into every time I'm on here, once we say that, we're automatically locked back in, we have a long discussion. It's too bad we couldn't put like 3% in there, knowing that they don't necessarily give out 3%, but every year we put it in, and then we did say, okay, now that's what they're gonna get, you know?
Well, I'm sorry, you didn't do that in the last 2 years.
Right.
That's not true.
Okay.
You put 3% to cover the budget, but you gave us what
Right.
what the actual cost of living was,
Right.
which was, one year was 2.133,
Right.
and then last year was 1.6.
I was thinking that we
So
put
the 3 is
2.5.
not based on,
Right.
So if you put 2.5, we're actually putting in a little less than we did last year, is what you're saying?
Yes.
That's correct.
Oh, okay,
With the expectation that there's not gonna be a huge inflation,
all right.
coming
My
up.
current COLA for 2021 is 1.3.
2021, so that's projected.
Social Security, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I guess
So 2 point, what'd you put, 2.5?
2.5, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah,
Covering
I do too.
contingencies.
Being that it's less than last year, I'm definitely for it, yeah.
Yeah. I think that just makes budgeting closer.
Yeah.
More precise. Okay, selectmen's expenses.
I'd like this to jump to health insurance.
Oh, yes, you have good news, don't you?
We do. In your packet, you have the breakdown of the FY '22 healthcare adjustment for the first half of the year. It is 1.75%, when many companies are posting way higher than that. We were very pleased with it. The downside is they have taken away, or they've added to the out-of-pocket for the employees. So, in many different categories, but overall to the town and the taxpayer, it is a 1.75% increase for January to June 30th.
That's just 21%, 21 thing, right? And
The second half of the year, it would be a guess. So as you see, I used 2% for FY '21 and 10% for '22 to make sure that we have it covered. But that is working out to be only a $3,000 increase because we had covered substantially the second half of FY '21 in the last budget. So we're not seeing that huge increase.
I have a question, please. I don't know if we kept it, do we have a comprehensive number for the average for municipalities in the state of Vermont increases for 2020 and 2019? Do they keep that statistic?
For health insurance?
Yes. Just
It
curious.
is based on your usage, and it's based on how many employees you have per
Well, I'm
town.
just saying,
So there is a benefit comprehensive package. She has the book, but it's not apples for apples because it can't be.
No, what I'm asking is, if we'll do all the townships report their,
Well, I know Blue Cross Blue Shield went up substantially again, like 12% last year, where we went up about 5%. So those towns that have MVP did much better than Blue Cross Blue Shield last year.
I'm not in any way questioning the number. I'm simply asking, is there a repository for comparable information that is kept by the state of Vermont or anyone else, NEMRIC even, that keeps a listing or an average or an aggregate over the last 3 to 5 years, perhaps, of what the average increase has been in healthcare costs for the average municipality? That's all I was asking.
I can look back at ours, but
Isn't that something he's
again,
asking?
it's done
But isn't that
town to
something
town.
DLCT would provide you with? Would they?
No, it's MVP.
No, but their VLC does all the towns and they would have a cost breakdown. Would they have a cost breakdown? What he's saying, all these other towns are paying?
Just asking.
Yeah.
Because 5% to me is.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
I've
Because,
never seen it. I know.
2021, 5% for the private sector is where it is. So that's not bad. You're at 1.75,
And
correct?
what I just got in the mail from MVP and Blue Cross Blue Shield, Blue Cross was much more again. They were a substantial increase. I didn't do the percentage, but it looked to me like it was at 8 to 9. And we were at 1.75 for the town of Westminster.
Thank you.
So do you want that number?
165?
Go back 5 years?
If it's possible.
I'm sure we can.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you, Russell.
So we might have more discussion on this later.
Not that's gonna change the number.
Okay,
I'm just saying, to me, the numbers seem reasonable.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'd like to see some providence maybe from,
Yeah.
not the private sector, but from actual
yeah,
like, kind, and quality
Yeah,
Yeah.
places.
but it is, like you said, it's hard because what you pay for insurance and what you get covered are two.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I get it, I get it. Thank you, Russell.
more on
No
that
problem.
section. Selectmen's expenses, 4,000. So this is fact TV.
Selecting expenses as fact, yeah, I thought that's legal, or is that legal?
Fact TV has always been put into your expense
Mhm.
because it's your meeting that has it. And the rest is your ads, your,
Oh, so never mind, I just, so legal service for our attorneys down below, okay, I get it, yeah.
So if the FY 20 actual was 5,000, why did we budget, why is the budget less, do you think?
well, we didn't know COVID-19 was gonna kick in.
Right,
So we were assuming that your costs were inflated for 1 year, not for the duration. So we went with 3,000 because that was a very even number
right,
to go with. And this year I'm proposing a little bit more in case COVID goes a little bit longer.
yeah,
That we're asking Fact TV to carry our Zoom.
right. And that will
request also.
cover it if,
That's
for some reason,
That's correct. Well, again, if it goes all year and other meetings have to be
yeah,
Zoomed, then they will be showing an expense also.
yeah, okay,
But this should cover us.
okay, good. Town office supplies,
Fishing then?
Yeah, there's a car accident going to be in the cell.
Okay. Do we have to do anything?
So just, uh,
Okay. I added a cost of living increase of $500. We have that in our copier. We're sending out a lot more pamphlets and information, a lot more requests for information. So the copier and the office supplies for about $500.
we're sending out more because of COVID, essentially, people that, or just that's the way.
They're not getting out and they want the information.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, and stop me if I'm going too fast, so. Are we good so far? Computer expenses, 5,500.
They've been maintaining pretty even keel. It does depend on, like this year, we will be very close if we don't exceed it a little for Kelly's computer, which has a lot more memory and hardware and software needs for the town report and all of that stuff. So that 5,500, it seems to be fine for next year to cover our expenses with any software needs, updates, et cetera, that we think we would need.
Computer contract services.
Yeah, this item, I'm not sure there's a good reason for it, but from fiscal year 17, which is 3 years ago, 4 years
We've
ago.
been seeing a security increase in our service that we need. And so across the state, this has been recommended to towns to cover a little stronger, better proposal to protect our main hardware. So this is kind of getting caught up. Last year, we were hoping that it would maintain, and we overspent some serious dollars in FY20. So this is trying to get caught up. This is probably going to be very close to what we need. And I'm saying that because I still don't know what their increase will be. And if I do get more information, I of course will send it back to you and go back to that line.
School merger expense. Are we gonna have to adjust that?
We should have adjusted it in the budget that we're in now, because that's when that cost is going to come to another town meeting.
Yeah.
We are supposed to be getting compensation for the tax bills that we have to send out because of them again. We didn't get compensated the last time, so I'm not sure how that's all gonna go about, but we have got another $3,200 in expense, sending out another interim tax bill through having hired NIMRIC to help us with the adjustment and to send out the actual bills with paper and postage. So I've got it at 0 because I don't see that's going to happen in FY22. I don't think we need to budget for that.
Yeah.
I think that will be not an issue at this point.
Thank you. Miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is miscellaneous, so seems to be pretty standard.
It is pretty standard. It ranges, very close to that 1750 price. I just added a little inflated boost there, $50. It can range from a piece of machinery that broke, such as a hole punch, or it can be anything that's related to the office and you folks.
Thank you. Town meeting expenses. So is this just childcare and?
That's all it is.
Did we have childcare last year? I remember someone asked us to return it, so we have not had childcare, right?
I'm not positive. 2 years ago, I think we did. It's per need. People have to request it to actually have it installed, because we did it for 2 years for one child or no children. So we stopped, and now we're asking for a request. But it's still been in our budget of half. The school does the other.
I think there was a request last year, the year before, that we have childcare. So
Then we
Somebody got up
probably
on
did
it.
it.
Yeah, somebody got
maybe
up on the floor last
Marion
night.
made
Thought-
that,
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Because the kids were running around.
Yeah. Volunteer recognition, yeah.
We're maintaining. I don't see it going up any.
Advertising, legal notices, bid requests.
We are going to be very much over this year, of course, because of the need, and that fluctuates every year. So I don't see us needing to jump and get worried that every year we're going to need more advertising for positions or et cetera. So this covers the average of what we've experienced in the last 4 or 5 years, and so that's why it's where it is. I don't think we should, worry about jumping to.
But that's advertising in general, so we're not marking that we're advertising for the zoning board for a permit in the Brattleboro or.
No, they have their own line item.
Those all have their own line item, so
That's
where
correct.
would we be advertising for the town clerk and this one?
This is the town clerk. This is any type of employment opportunity. It is for your
Okay,
any ordinances that you've changed, etc.
okay, that's what I'm thinking.
VLCT,
That one is pending. I do not have that information. That will definitely have to be relooked at when I do get that.
okay, thank you.
So this one is not set.
Training, meeting materials, select board meetings. This is just,
Since I've been here, it's been that total, and
yeah, those are if we go to the thing in Montpelier or whatever, that covers that. Wyndham Regional Planning.
Same thing, I have not received their increase yet, that will have to be revisited.
Thank you. Insurance.
Same thing,
Legal services. Legal counsel.
every year it's different, you can see FY19, we exceeded it by a substantial amount, but 18, 20, we did not. Will we this year? I think we will, and the only thing that's saving us is that the Mandich legal services came right out of the Mandich fund, so that it's not coming out of our budget. So I'm not asking for an increase. I think it's in the realm of being where it needs to be. There will be times that we need it, and it's one of those things. So I'm not asking to increase it though.
Town office phones. Have we gotten that?
We have, they don't just send us for FY starting January 1st. They slowly but surely update your bills, and all of a sudden you notice there's increases. And if you looked at your home phone, it's the same thing. So I took the last couple bills that we've been receiving, and I've increased it by that rate to get that number, which is 4,400.
Town reports. Now, are we sending mailing fewer town reports out or not?
I'm sorry?
I'm down to the town report.
Okay. So the staff hours is our administrative assistant putting it all together.
Right.
And it's a good dollar amount. It's not. And bulk mailing, we've dropped it a little bit because we don't send out as many. People come get them. They understand that it's an huge expense to mail them, and half the time they don't get them. You folks knew Janine last year requested it. We sent it out in a timely manner, and she never got it ever. So she came and got another one. So people know that they don't count on the mail. They come get it.
How many years has it been since we started mailing them to everyone?
It was in our, it was at our town meeting, somewhere about 8 or 9 years ago, before I got here, but not by much.
Okay.
That it was at town meeting that we should, to anybody that requests them, we'll mail them out to them. So until that's changed, it's up to the taxpayers to change it if they want it to. But it seems to be working very well. Like I said, there's not very many that ask for it.
Okay, page 2. Lively, yes. Salary town manager, clerical, finance officer, all proposed 2.5% increase. Good revision those things at 2.5. Office supplies, tax bill. And
We went up last year because the tax envelopes went from the clerk's side of the office to the executive side of the office. So we feel we have it covered. That's why we're not asking for any more. We don't have any history of it, but we're feeling like that it's covering it at present time.
Telephones, cell phones.
This number is going to change because we are not coding to the correct line. All this is coding is for my cell phone and, it needs to be more of a charge, so I've left it the same, it's not an increase, so, but it does need to, we're overrunning one phone, line, and, we've looked at it, and there should be a split there, so we will be utilizing that line a little more efficiently. Postage, we're asking for a minimal, increase. We just got a bump, from the postal service, but I'm assuming that with, more people doing, mailing, et cetera, that probably will go up again.
Dues, subscriptions, and meetings. So this has gone up quite a bit in the last couple of years. Is there a reason for that?
It's been maintained at that same number, but I have not been using it to its fullest. So I have no problem dropping that to 1,000, if that's what your pleasure is.
Being the year we're in, I think that's the one thing you will see is less travel.
That's why I'm saying it, and so I agree.
Okay, let's do that then. Both with travel and dues, subscriptions, and
My travel is definitely got to maintain itself. That is me going, checking roads, etc. So that's not meeting people per se. It's taking care of business that's requested by taxpayers.
Did we drop dues, subscriptions, and meetings to 1,000?
I believe we did.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the 1,600 is what you're saying is the reimbursement for mileage.
That's correct.
Mhm.
And that hasn't changed dramatically anyway, so,
No, that's pretty standard.
but over the last 3 years, it hasn't.
So finance training. So this is something we'll have to discuss at some point. We have the 15,000, which we were never really clear on what we were going to do with.
And this being a year of transition, it's not the year to spend it, unfortunately.
That was originally brought up at town meeting, and we put it there. And it was,
Voted on the town meeting.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was earmarked for somebody from Denmark to train somebody or.
No, I think it was
Specifically,
just
but-
financial consulting
Financial manager or whatever.
Right.
if we needed, and so.
I was always unclear how we were gonna do
That's
it.
exactly right, it was unclear, so. But I think you're right, if we're gonna have a new clerk, treasurer, whatever, that money might be spent. Maybe training or consulting, or we'll know more later, I guess is my.
I feel like that will be spent this year, and not probably to its fullest, but
Yeah,
once new people are on board,
yeah,
then we can start training, but it's foolish to train a person that is leaving. So whether we carry that number over for FY '22 also, or at least half of it, probably would make sense, because there is going to be a learning curve.
Have we used any of it this year?
No, we have not.
So I don't see a problem carrying. As it was voted on in town meeting to do this, I think we need to carry it over.
The complete amount?
What do you mean by carrying over? Not adding to
Well,
next
no,
year?
no, we didn't spend any of the 15,000 that they voted on at town meeting.
So you're gonna, basically, we're asking for 0 next year because we're carrying the 15 over.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. Your budget's gonna end,
Well,
that 15 is going to be in surplus or whatever.
I'm coming where you are, but what he's saying is something
But
different.
the dollar amount, I got what he said, it's dollar amount that we didn't spend should be carried over to FY '22 for proper training. And truly, I think some of that 15 is gonna be used this year, but probably not all of it.
yeah.
And then another half of it next year. So if that 15 jumped to, let's say, 7,500, then that would make
That
sense
makes
to
more
me.
sense, right? Put 7,500 there for that next year.
For next year, and
Because-
75 will be spent this year, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that out loud.
Right.
Instead of zero, instead of leaving it as zero.
Yeah.
All right.
So 75 on
Yeah,
that
I
line?
can go with that.
Yeah, the year's not over yet, that's for sure. Okay, contracted services.
We have not yet received that information either. That would have to be re-looked at when we do get the information from
Yeah.
contracted services.
Office equipment.
Some years it's extremely necessary, and other years it's not. I left it alone this year because of the renovation. We've had some chairs literally fall apart, and we have some public seating that needs to be updated. So I left that alone for this coming year, if possible.
Elections.
What's your pleasure? Yes?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine, yeah. Ballot clerks.
Okay, so I had a quick conversation with Ally. We have 2 elections for FY '22, so the dollars amount, should maintain to where they are.
Are we gonna be spending more this year because because of the way the mail-in ballots are, do you know?
The year we're in, you're asking.
I don't think so, but I'm not positive of that, and I'm not sure that they know that
Yeah.
for sure right now.
Okay.
But it shouldn't be any more than that, but it should be right around that.
Operating supplies. 4,500, that's higher than usual because,
Well, if you look at FY '17, back when we had the need of purchasing equipment, you can see that every other year there's a bump. And so we're experiencing it this year, and we're really not sure what next year is going to bring. With the elections, a lot of new things are going to be bumped around. As we all know, that's a huge
We have to come back to that one.
bouncing ball. But yeah, we might know a little more later,
Yeah.
if you want to go back to it.
we'll come back. Treasurer's office. Salary for the treasurer, assistant treasurer.
I had no idea what to do with that. I added more hours
Yeah,
than what was previously sought after.
we might know more later about that too, so.
Yes, I would assume.
I have a question.
Yep,
Nate Stoddard. So we have an 8-hour-a-week position that needs an assistant?
Yeah,
yes.
that was Ally helping out. I don't know why I don't answer, but.
In our present situation, we have the need for like a bank deposit, so that instead of bringing in Paul, who is our treasurer, Ally would take that bank deposit and bring it to the bank for taxes, let's say. That happened common for the last month. So it was handy to have 2 at a stipend rate, so that's why it's still there. Will the new person need it or want it? I can't answer that.
What new person?
If we get a new treasurer and or assistant, that's why it's been pretty much maintained to where it is today.
I'm sorry, it's Cynthia. I have to ask a question. Are you? Hi, it's Cynthia.
Yeah, okay.
Are you going to discuss during this budget cycle? I know you just talked about the 15,000 for the finance training that you had 0 in there and maybe you're adding back in, but are you going to discuss the finance department as a whole and how that's functioning? And I mean, I thought that's why we put the 15,000 in there. Like, this is the time to talk about it. Do we want to hire a bookkeeper instead of having Paul have to take on that total responsibility as treasurer? Like, it looks like we're just doing the exact same thing we always have done with no advance of training and trying to rework that finance department.
I think part of it is we're going to see who we hire for the interim town clerk and whether they might want to take on some treasurer responsibilities, I believe. Am I correct in that?
You're correct. It's been suggested by several that we go back to combining the two, so that we.
The treasurer and the clerk position are not a combined position. They're 2 separately elected positions. Yes, if you get somebody that has those qualifications, they can be elected for both of those positions, but they're 2 separately independent positions. So, and I think when Doreen was there, she was paid as a bookkeeper. She was not the treasurer at one point. Is that true?
No, she at one time was treasurer and town clerk, and then we had to kind of separate the money because it was unclear, because it was always like both, and she was concerned about that. So she came back with the idea of giving a lot less money to the treasurer and more to the clerk, in case 2 people tried to run for the same position. But Cynthia, what you're saying, I don't think we've got there, but it makes sense. Somebody's we gotta have that discussion, whether we keep it totally separate, and do we keep it as it's an elected position, and do we keep going that way, or?
Well, and I think that it needs to be defined in that finance department. Like Kelly has, is that her name? Kelly, I'm sorry. Has a title of, what is it? Finance officer or something? Yep. And I mean, I emailed the other day looking for some reports, an updated trial balance and an updated expenditure report on the town hall renovations. I've gotten no response from either Russ or Ally. I have no idea who to even ask those questions to. So I feel like we are going to go into town meeting and have the same exact discussion about the finance department with no real clear plan how it's going to be reorganized. I mean, we could be advertising right now for a part-time bookkeeper to help Paul out. We have the money, but nothing's been done with that $15,000 that's sitting there. And now it sounds like we're just going to continue in the same direction with no real clear understanding of what the money's for. And I think we shouldn't wait for the person that's going to apply for the position to tell us what they want to do. We need to create the positions and then advertise for the right person.
Cynthia, I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
When you say a bookkeeper, I'm just trying to picture what that bookkeeper would be doing.
Well, I think that's part of what my question is, because to be honest with you, I don't know who does what down there. I've never really gotten a clear answer as to who is responsible for the financial statements and the general ledger. I have no idea who's responsible for that. So what that bookkeeper might do, or maybe it needs to be more of an accountant role that works 1 day a week, that does overall financial statements. But like I said, I don't even know who to ask down there for reports out of the general ledger. Because we don't have that person that's reviewing that on a regular basis to make sure things are correct. And it's not Penny that's doing it from NIMRIC, because she's just balancing the checkbook and answering questions as they come up, but she's not doing a complete review of your financial statements on a regular basis. So who is doing that? And that's what that $15,000 was for. And nothing has been done with that.
Why, yeah, I just, I guess from my point of view, and that's just, I haven't had a discussion with anybody about it, but it always seemed to me that that bookkeeper or that bookkeeping service would come from something like NIMRIC.
And that's possible, but I've said it at meetings before, and this is my NIMRIC role, my as the director of support, we have to be asked to do that. That's not what we've been contracted to do. Some of it we have, yes, but even if that's the expectation, we need to sit down and discuss it between the town and NIMRIC. But the town needs to decide what it is they want and who's doing what. So if you have Kelly as the finance officer, to me, that implies that she's in charge of running reports, knowing what the financial statements mean. But I don't think that's what she's doing. I think she's doing the payables and putting in the payroll maybe. So that to me is a bookkeeper doing payables and payroll. But the finance department as a whole, because there's been some changes between personnel and Ally is no longer treasurer and then Paul took over and his time is limited and I get all that, but we haven't had a solid conversation about who is in charge of those financial statements after all of the little pieces are put in there. And if that's the role you guys want NIMRIC to play, then this $15,000, I was hoping the $15,000 was going to be used to try to find somebody to come in-house maybe one day a week that knew how to read the financial statements and could do an overall look at everything. That was my intention when I made that motion to put it into, or when I suggested to put it into the budget. But it's like nothing has even been done with that. And I mean, I came in last minute here, but I see there's nothing proposed for it for next year, but I think maybe you guys had a discussion to put it back in. I don't know. But it just feels like, we're putting money there and then going to piece it together. I think you need to come up with a plan of who's doing what for financial tasks and then build the budget around that structure. And I give Paul credit. He's doing as much as he can with the limited time that he has, but it's tough. And he can't answer those hard financial questions like somebody like me might ask. And like I said, I asked for 2 reports 4 or 5 days ago. I've heard nothing. I sent it to Ally and I sent it to Russ and neither of them responded to me. So I don't know if they're the ones that are responsible.
I never got your request. I can tell you that.
Okay.
So please send it back to me and you will get an answer.
But are you the person that should be sending me the financial reports if I ask for them?
I won't be doing it myself. I will get you the answers through the right channels.
Okay. So who does it there? Like, who is the one that actually pushes the button to create the report?
It used to be Ally, and
Right.
now it's not, and that's why we're kind of in a turmoil right now because we don't have a new person to take over those 2 positions. So we know Paul is not rerunning, and we're hoping the clerk that is hired possibly could have some financial ability. So at this point, it's hard to number when we don't have the personnel all sitting.
That is on in Russ Stack TV, Alice, Nate, and me.
That's fine. I'm gonna just keep watching the budget process, but I think you don't need to be I don't think you should rely on the person that's going to be town clerk to have that finance knowledge. It's a very specialized knowledge. And not saying there isn't somebody out there that can do it. I'm sure there is. I don't know how many people have applied for the position, but I think you should build a finance position for the things that you're lacking in-house, and then possibly build your budget around hiring somebody that can do that. That's my suggestion. I think if you don't, you're going to end up in the same spot we've been with not being able to answer financial questions when they come up. And it's very difficult to trust information when you ask a finance and it takes a long time to get that answer. And I don't think anybody's doing anything illegal or wrong, or I think it's just a very specialized knowledge that you need. And I think you guys are trying to piece it together for something that's very complicated to keep track of. I don't think there's anybody there that really should feel bad that they don't understand some of it. It's a whole different world than for-profit business. So that's my 2 cents for tonight.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
It is one of those things where Paul, I was discussing with Paul today, because he wants to get done.
Yeah.
He's learned a lot, and I think she's right in some ways, that somewhere we should sit at a meeting with Kelly and Paul before we go too far to say, in this department, those are the two people who really, it comes out of Russ's department a little bit, but it really is Kelly who's doing it, and it's Paul, is get a little more direction on where Paul thinks we should be going, because he's there, he's done it for a while, and realizes, it was a little harder than I thought. And then what is Nemrac's role? Could they come in and train who? Is it Kelly or the next person, or is there somebody we hire that actually does what she says, comes in once a week or once every other week to look at it?
Do you have
I think it would be nice to have some serious recommendations from Cynthia.
Yeah.
Cynthia, I think you should make a recommendation, a specific recommendation. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know how to unmute myself.
Okay, just.
Yeah, I mean, we can make I think what Craig said is right. I think talking to Paul and talking to Kelly and figuring out, what it is that they're doing on a regular basis. I think talking to the auditor.
Yeah, but when I'm asking, I don't think we can do it right here, right now.
No, but yeah, I can certainly give a recommendation on how I have seen it work in other places.
Fine. I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, and I do want to just reiterate about the whole NIMRIC piece. If there is something more that you guys are expecting that we're supposed to be doing as a consulting service to the town, besides what we're doing right now, it needs to be communicated to us, because we are answering questions as they come up. We have done some year-end stuff, and we're balancing the checkbook. Those are the things we're doing. So if there is an understanding between the board that we are doing more than that, then we just need to clarify it. We can do whatever you guys want us to do, but
yeah.
we don't like to come in and kind of step on anybody's toes. We want to take direction from the manager or from the board as to what it is their expectations are.
Well, I'm just saying, it appears that, I'm hearing two things from you. One is that you might actually have an idea of how that should work with the $15,000 and how it should be used and what role NIMRIC might have in using that. That was where I thought we were going with that when we first got the $15,000.
Yeah.
But, we're just, I think it would be helpful if you could, not right this minute,
No, I know, I hear you.
okay? It would be good.
Okay. I can do that.
We'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you. All right, let's keep moving. Office supplies, is this treasurer on page 2, clerk expenses?
I would recommend that we wait and get an opinion from the new person that takes over, so that that person is aware of their budget.
Or at least have Paul come in and address it
Yeah.
before he gets back. He might get back and say, you need to put more money in that line to get more training.
We need to have some conversation about that.
Yeah. Talking to him today, it sounds like he's willing to come in and have that discussion.
Yeah, he said, as you know, he doesn't want to run again. He said he'd do whatever was best for the town, but his time is here. Bank service charges, bank fees and money orders.
Again, that whole line should wait until we
Okay.
have
All right,
people that are actually manning the seat.
yeah.
Okay, so that's our 2 pages, right?
I meant
Yeah.
holding the seat.
All right, so next meeting, do we want to keep doing and going on to the next 2 pages?
I will give you an update of what you've done so far on
Yeah.
page 1 and 2, and we'll go to 3 and 4.
Does that seem to be working? Thank you. For the moment, okay. Thank you. Full harmless agreement.
So Susan,
Yep. That's Nate.
Nate Stoddard again. When we were talking about the truck, I mentioned something about questions about the monies, where they're coming from to make up the 27.
Mhm.
And is it prudent to wait to during the budget discussion? And you said yes. You didn't say yes, that you're only going to do the first 2 pages. So where would you like me to ask my questions about the $27,000 and in relation to next year's proposed budget numbers?
Well, you can ask the questions now. I was assuming that when we, is this correct for us when we get to the, how would that work? At the town garage or when we discuss the?
Pages 5 and 6 will be all about.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a general overview of my comments and I'll wait until you get to those specific line items in future meetings.
Good, great.
My general overview is you're finding money that, and like Sheldon mentioned about earlier, that you painstakingly last year made a budget that now seemingly has extra monies that you can take out of. So looking forward a little, keep in mind when you get to these in the following select board meetings, those budget numbers that you're taking money out of that is seemingly extra are, for the most part, the same amounts next year. So it's just an example, the $82,000 for fuel and oil, I think it was. Gas, fuel, oil, the 82,000 in your budgeted FY21, you're pulling money out to pay for this truck, but yet you rebudgeted 82,000 next year. So I guess my big point is, if there's extra monies in these line items this year, why are they the same number next year? So moving forward, maybe look at those line items a little closely.
Yeah, I think that fuel and oil is something we reduced actually last year from 9,000 because, right?
To 70, to 75, right?
Yeah.
But and then it leads to a bigger concern with, so I'm going to just use the culverts, drainage, whatever that line item is. You obviously, somebody had a plan last year to have that be $32,000 in your budget this year. Now you're going to pull $8,000 out of it. Is there what you had planned for the 32 not panning out? Or did you not do $8,000 worth of work? And then why is the budget next year not reduced by $8,000 if you don't need it?
So the money being pulled out of the culverts will be reimbursed through a grant. Forest Road is getting done. So when we get reimbursed for that money, it'll get put back into the culvert fund. So essentially, we're really not gonna lose any money out of the culvert. Gas, fuel, and oil is also the maintenance fund. That's all together. It's not just gas and oil. And with this truck and the purchase of the new truck last year, being more efficient, using less fuel and lower projected maintenance costs, we should be fine by doing that. Building maintenance costs, instead of taking money out, we put an addition on one of the buildings and did a bunch of maintenance. And I have my own sawmill, and I donated all the lumber and the use of the mill. So with that savings, we're gonna take that savings out of it and use towards this truck. So
then I need a clarification on one thing.
Yep.
The line item for gas, fuel, and oil is 82,000. There's a line item for repairs and parts of 58,000. You're saying the repairs and parts are part of the 82?
No.
No, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
Okay.
But no, that's right.
So again, I'll bring these all back up when you get to these actual line items and where there should be probably some savings. If there's savings this year, there should be savings next year.
I agree.
And Nate, I would say, I would agree. When we get there, you bring up a good point. There's no question, so.
Anything else? Okay. Hold harmless, wherever it is here. Yeah.
I brought this up to you last meeting. This is the official document drafted by legal counsel. I would like a motion and it to be passed and then signed to forward this to Christopher Harlow and Tina Berg.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to sign the communication tower access and indemnification agreement, which is essentially that tower is on their land, but the town uses it for communications, and this will free them from any liability from our use.
Correct.
Essentially.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Do I need to sign this one? Or does it matter?
Yes, you have two copies. One was set aside for the original.
Okay.
And then just pass it down to.
Okay. New business, quarterly financials.
This being the first meeting after the quarter ended, by law, you're to receive these. Please look at them. And if you have any comments, I will respond to them next meeting. So I will table this item until you have further chance to look at it.
Thank you. Water truck tanker, purchase agreements.
What did you just say? The water truck?
Yeah,
So
water
in your packets, you have an agreement that I drafted and the fire department has approved to relocate and reallocate one tanker truck from the fire department to the road crew. In the agreement as it states, it's for $1, and the road crew is able to utilize it for a water truck so that we can grade our roads in dusty situations like this year. That was really handy. But also the fire department, if one goes down, one tanker that they have goes down, they can grab ours in a heartbeat and utilize it. Or if they need 3, they've got access to 3. So it is a really a great opportunity for both the road crew and the fire department to have a 3rd truck and utilize it, not have it just sit. So that's what this is all about. Chuck, you want to add anything to it?
No, just they have actually used it for fires. It's not just and if maybe they have a couple of different times, situations.
I do have to sing praises to Chuck. He created a manifold that snaps into the truck's porthole where the water comes out. And what it does is it sends water for the full distance of the truck, and so that he's watering our roads. And then if we did have an emergency and the fire department needed it immediately, it's a quick disconnect. That's thrown to the side and that truck's ready to go. So the fire hoses still fit, and there's no modification to the truck that would not allow the transaction back and forth. So it was a great idea, and this is just a formal yes that we're interested.
Better run down to that patent office, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds like a winner.
What do we anticipate maintenance to be?
Say that again?
What do we anticipate yearly maintenance to be?
$500 a year.
I would say, you're changing your oils, eventually the tires, but it's not run. How many hours did you put in the last?
Oh, we've probably put 100 hours on it this year.
So tires are gonna last a long time. So the maintenance will be just maybe doing cosmetic maintenance, which is the changing in the oils and all of that. So
I was able to add on to the tractor bearing, like I just told Dane, no charge to just the guy's time, but the lumber, material, everything was.
How big is this tank compared to what we're normally carrying on one of the 10-wheelers?
We don't have a tank to go on the 10-wheeler, it goes into a single axle. Chloride tank's 1,000, this is 3,000, so two-thirds more. So what happens is, so a year like this year, you have to go, say, Piggery Road to get water because all the other Morse Brook Road's dried up, so you get it from Piggery Road. So instead of going down there 3 times with the other tank, you're going twice with this one, and the other tank has chloride on it. So you wet the road, you're not switching back and forth from chloride to water. You use the 1,000-gallon tank for just it's not chloride, it's dust control, safe line, but anyway, same idea. So you use one for that and the other for the other.
And fuel for this project's on top of the $500 that you've already said is maintenance.
Fuel?
Yeah.
Yep, fuel for this truck is fuel that you're not using in the other truck. You can't drive 2 trucks at once.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion. Oh,
I say, if there's something seriously goes wrong with the truck, you'd be back to us to say whether we're gonna spend the money.
Oh, well, yeah.
Absolutely, the truck goes back to the fire
Goes
department.
back to the fire department. And they can junk it or fix it or sell it or park it out there next to the other junk truck.
I think that's in the agreement here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made a motion that we sign the agreement with the fire department for this fire truck.
Second.
Moved and seconded to sign the formal agreement between the fire district and the town, on the water truck. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Six.
Nay.
Okay, 4 in favor, 1 against, passes.
Did you say next time, sorry?
Yeah.
Yes.
Five. See this?
I just need the one.
You live on the dirt road?
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Executive session to the town clerk. We have a motion to go into executive
So
session.
moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll do this after item 10, after date of next meeting. The search committee asked to go into executive session.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's okay with you?
You just said, I just
Yeah.
Oh.
wasn't,
There you go.
I just wasn't sure when you were gonna do it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He was given a positive vote. He wanted to make sure it was recorded, okay?
Got it. All right, discussion for elections on November the 3rd.
You requested this line item. I have some answers, and I'm not actually sure why we're discussing it, but have at it.
I think we just wanted to make sure that things were all in place and didn't need any.
Everything's in place.
Yeah.
The town hall was chosen for 2 very large reasons. One was that the Institute lost its handicap accessibility yet again. They are in the mode to replace their elevator, so they aren't going to be holding any official meetings for a while until they get that done. The second reason is that they need to set up the voting machine, and it has to be secure. And the only place we can make it secure is in the town hall, so that they can accept the votes and ballots, for that last week. And they are going to start October 26th, filing the ballots that they've received so far, which is in the realm of 700 plus that have come through the mail slot or mail. So the BCA that you're all part of will be asked to help with different hours on different days to make sure that it's done in an appropriate manner. That's why the venue was changed.
Did you say there was a mail slot in the town hall?
There is.
There is, so.
Right hand side of the door.
Is it?
And then
All
a
right.
big sign that says
That's-
place tax. First it was place tax payments, and now it says place ballots.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, it was placed on the ballot. Thank you, Sue, for the clarification that the town manager is at least reflecting that we've received 700 votes, or as of October 14, 700 mail-in vote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the clerk reflected approximately a week ago, and I want to be accurate, that there are 2,560 residents currently registered to be eligible to vote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the Secretary of State's protocol as of that writing for last week, and I'm assuming that's today, has provided us with only 700 physical ballots to receive voters at our venue on election day. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
We've received an additional 1,000. So we have in-house somewhere in the vicinity of 1,700 additional ballots, so that if a person didn't get one, or made a mistake on it, or refused to utilize the one that was in the mail, and they want to do it in person, that we have 1,700.
Or registered to vote within 24 hours of the election.
That's correct, and we are receiving some of those already. Yep.
And is that all we're getting, 1,700? That's the, or were you in line to get more?
We can, not at this point, but we can next day air them. The state has told the clerks that if you start to run within a couple hundred, 300, don't feel bad about, requesting more.
Yeah.
But you start doing the math, you've already got 700, we have 1,700 ballots, that's 2,400.
Yeah.
All we need is 150 people to actually use the ballot that they received through the mail and will be sent. So we're ready, and it is very, very well thought out on the state's.
Yeah.
So that's a good development, getting the extra 1,000 ballots in the week. If a citizen shows up with the mail-in ballot in hand on the day of election, what is the protocol?
It can be filled out, or it can be filled out right there. But you're gonna be, you walk in and they will make you sign in. And if you made a mistake or you don't wanna use it, you just have to sign an affidavit that you didn't wanna use that ballot, you wanna have one handed to you in person. And so there's provisions for that also.
Where is this, where in the town hall are the
What we're planning on doing is, as you walk in the front door or through the elevator, whichever you need, the two booths will be set right there. There'll only be two. You'll fill them out if you haven't filled them out. The two people that are sitting there will be the BCA members. They will check you in before you do that, of course. And then you're going to walk through the office. You're going to put your vote, if you hadn't, through the mail, through the counter, and then you're gonna walk out the back door. For BCA members that come with their ballot in their hand, you're going to go through that line, and there's only gonna be a certain amount of people that are allowed in the town hall at one time, so there might be a line outside on those heavy hours, like noon. People come at lunchtime. There might be a line, but you'll be asked to go through the line in the process. As you leave, you'll be checked off. You'll go out the back door, and then you'll assume your station after the fact. So you'll do the same protocol, and then you'll assume your station, if you're helping.
Thank you to the chair for putting this on the agenda tonight. Thank you to the town manager for all his excellent work, and thank you to the town clerk also for her excellent work in getting the additional ballots and getting us all set up. It looks very good.
It looks like it's gonna work.
It does.
We're counting on our construction people, because we've got to get all of the blister stuffs out of there, but they promised that will be done by October 26th, so.
Thank you to all of you.
It's working.
Yep, good. Thank you to the volunteers too.
Yes.
Yeah. Cemetery, Westminster West.
The Westminster West Cemetery has more room than what we first reported. And what we found is that the old maps that were started well prior to anyone that's still living had held lots for families that no longer exist. So what I'm proposing, and what I would like for this board to give me permission, is to get bids on surveying the Westminster West Cemetery in this year's budget to verify how many spots we have open. The number, when I first reported this, was 12. And now we're assuming we have somewhere between 30 and 40. But we would like to know that for a fact. So that means the surveyor will not only take the land and verify corners, etc., but he will also verify the rows and how many folks are in the row. And that
the
will.
ones that are, for example, I have a plot, but I can't ever find it. I mean,
They'll be cleaned up, but they'll also be very, very obvious, because we're going to make the adjustments after the survey, and that's really what we're after.
okay,
Because of the modern day, we're putting four corners on it. When you buy a lot, it's $300, $150 of it is to put four corners on it.
well, I don't have four corners on mine.
Don't need them yet.
So, anyway,
So is this a specialty surveyor that does this?
no, actually, the last time it was done by Aurelius, DiBernardo. I feel that we have three or four good surveyors that are in our area all the time, that we put it out to bid, and I would come back with that number to verify that this is a real need and that we can afford it.
Would that go into the cemetery commission budget?
It would go into the cemetery
Yeah.
fund, and if we couldn't do it in this fiscal year, then we need to plan for it for next year's budget. But I would like a motion tonight to proceed with the survey.
Second.
Survey bids.
Moved and seconded to bid out survey work on the Westminster West Cemetery.
Can I ask you a question? The board is just giving you permission to go get bids, but normally it's because we've already given you permission to go do it. So you're really not getting bids, you're getting estimates. Because how is somebody gonna give you a bid if you're not sure that the selectmen are gonna approve it?
We know the scope of work, and we know it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And it's foolish not to do this.
No, I'm not disagreeing there, I'm just
Because
saying.
then the alternative is buying new land, and that's.
No, but I'm thinking about those people that you're asking. They think that, okay, if I'm the low bid, I'm gonna get it. But
Worst case scenario, it will be in July of next year versus the spring of this coming year.
So what you're saying?
Those are the two, that's the only
Well, no,
stipulations for the bid.
normally he comes and says, these bids are gonna be
Yours,
$500 or $5,000. So we say, okay, not to exceed 5,000, go get the bid. What he's asking tonight is, we got no idea what he's gonna ask for price. So
so
he's
you're
asking.
saying you think we should have a motion that says that we survey the Westminster West Cemetery to see what we have for plots and to bid that work out. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just trying to say, we're giving him permission to go get bids. These people think that if they get it, we're gonna go ahead. We didn't give them permission to go ahead and actually do it.
I will make sure that the stipulation is that it will either happen in this fiscal year or next. So it will either happen in May, June, or July, August.
But there again,
That's the only thing that I need to.
you're asking the select board to give you approval with no dollar amount.
That's correct. But no. I'm going to come back to you before I give this out with the bids. You're gonna know exactly what it's gonna cost. I'm gonna tell you whether I can afford it in this budget,
Okay.
or if I have to ask for money next year.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, I understand.
That way we will have the information, and we
Okay.
won't be buying land that we don't need to buy
All right, I'm
or
fair.
obtain.
Okay, we're good. So that's the new business. I just wanted to put something, what?
He's all set?
I didn't get my motion.
No, I'm just saying, we're still in the middle of it.
Toby made the motion, Kevin seconded it, but we didn't do it.
We didn't vote for it yet.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to, and what is the motion that you made?
To authorize the town manager to obtain survey bids for the Westminster West Cemetery.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Passed. Okay. Actually, I'll bring mine up under other business. What's that?
She didn't say anything?
No, she got up and walked out.
She left, yeah.
Okay. Where did she?
Take her. Too late.
I thought she was
Supposed to feel them, I don't know.
What's that?
Supposed to feel them.
Okay, anyway,
Manager's report.
okay, so in your packets, under the manager's report, I didn't know where else to put them. there is some information that I want you to start thinking about in this budget that we're trying to put together. One is the inflation of asphalt. Though fuel is way down, liquid asphalt has gone up. Hence, our mileage that we can afford is less and less every year, and we're falling behind. So I'm not asking for anything tonight, I'm just trying to get your minds on things that are possibly gonna come up in budget discussions later as we get into the weeds of this budget. The other one that you have, which please do not read out the numbers, but it is the last trash/recycling extension that was possible for next year. And the information is there. I broke it down to how that affects our budget and our long-term trash program. And I just received from Wyndham Solid Waste Management their costs of recycling, trucking, and disposal of their trash, and he is substantially lower than that. So it is something that we need to look at, and that's why I gave it to you in my manager's report, is not to make it public, because if it's got to go out to bid, I don't want his bid to be compromised. Also, in your packet, you have our equipment rates and replacement information. Again, it's something to read, to try to figure out yourselves, and if you have any questions, please, just give me a call. I'll walk you through it of how we got to where we are at, and as we said before, Craig and Chuck and myself are going to get together and give you a replacement schedule. Of course, it's a proposed replacement schedule. If something totally breaks down, then we're going to have to think about changing it, but it will at least get us on a straight and narrow plan of attack for our replacements for our equipment. So last and not least is in your packet, you have a letter that was drafted by Larry Slayson and signed by Larry Slayson that we sent out today for Mr. Derby. He did not respond. He called me and the day after and never responded again. So I had given him the go ahead to send it. So he sent the letter today. It will come in front of you if he does fill out the application, because it's gone through such turmoil. It will be denied or approved by you folks. So I could ask for a site visit if you thought it was necessary, or if everybody knows where it is, please drive by it and take a look at it. But either way, it's going to go in front of you one more time. Thank you.
Board information?
I have nothing to report, other than we might be in the demand of a Zoom meeting for a DRB meeting, because of an appeal that is coming before the DRB, and the amount of people that have requested information. So it's either do it in waves in this room, I've got permission to use this room, do it in waves, or have it via Zoom and in person. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but that's just a FYI what's happening in town. Nothing to do with you folks. Just know it might be a possibility.
Okay, other business, and I want to bring this up, and I apologize because I had asked at the social media committee to put on the agenda, and I did not look closely enough, and I should have made sure it was on there. So I just want to make inform you about it. So Brian Renault and Yvette Hendler and Lori Lou and I met as a social media committee, with the main idea being to set up a formal Facebook page for the town. And we discussed how we would do that and the limitations that would be on it. Yvette Hendler at Peter Barrett's house, and my cousin, people who know about this stuff. So, Yvette had sent some information which I will send on to you. And we strongly feel that the town should have a formal Facebook page in order to get information out there quickly. And it would be a page that essentially is just, at this point, educational. This is happening, these are the agendas. There would not be, people would not be allowed to comment. The moderators would just be a few people, probably Kelly, the town clerk, someone on the select board. I wanted more time to discuss this, but, and I talked to Patty about it because I thought it would be ideal for this election. I'm sure she's getting a lot of questions and she could post answers, and she does not think she'll have time to do that. So maybe it's not quite as urgent as we think it would be, but, if you would think about that, and, we could do it, there would not be any expense involved. And some information I hope to have, there are a couple of towns, Williston and Bennington, who both have very good Facebook pages that they don't allow comments, but it provides a lot of information very quickly to people in town. So I'd like to talk about this again and get your permission to pursue that.
Okay.
So who would be putting the information on there?
Well, that would be the moderators, so that would be, and we can talk about it, so it would be, in the beginning would be Kelly, the town clerk,
Right.
and me, and maybe eventually it would be like the road department, the listers, any town department that might, and there would be guidelines, you can't do this, you can't do that. It would be pretty simple and basic. The whole idea is, if you want to get information to people quickly.
It's real popular.
Yeah.
I mean, I Google all the time, because I'm dealing with all these different towns.
Yeah.
There's
I
a
can't
lot of
believe
highway
it.
departments that have their own
Yeah.
material.
There's a lot of towns.
Yeah.
Road closures and that kind of
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
See, that kind of thing
You
would be
gonna have
ideal.
information for the next meeting?
Yes, I'm hoping to talk to people in those two towns. I called them and no one has
Put it
gotten
under new
Yeah.
business next meeting.
I can give you a few more towns too. I was
Could
just dealing
we
with.
get to the executive session, because
Yes.
I think there's kind of some important things we need to talk about.
Yes, yeah, don't worry. Okay. Well, let's go into executive session, and we already voted to, so,
Okay,
that will just
you
be,
can leave.
yeah. They will be in the same,
And get the results at the end.
right, okay.
Well, I'll turn everything off and then have to turn it back on for the result at the end.
Right, but you can't be in here.
You can't be in here though.
Russ, you can't be in here.
You don't want me in here, okay.
Remember you said that you would not be in on this decision because you knew people
Right,
involved.
I would like to hear the
Oh, wait a minute, I gotta wait for her.
They took my name away, so like, they don't know who I am.
Right.
So there's a motion to come out of executive session,
Second.
moved and seconded, come out of executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out of executive session, now I'll entertain the motion.
Okay, I move that we offer the job of town clerk to Pauline O'Brien. Pauline Blake O'Brien.
Her maiden name was what?
Okay, Pauline Blake O'Brien, and to have her start as soon as she can.
And we authorized the chair of the board
To
to
the chair.
negotiate the
Yeah.
contract with,
Yeah. Within our budget.
within the budget.
Right.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, I'll second. I was looking at Russ, Russ was writing the minutes down. and I
Oh,
was
right,
like,
sorry.
I'm waiting.
Are you caught up?
I am.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Do you want me to call her?
Yeah, but now you need to adjourn the meeting.
Oh,
I'll make a motion.
Day of
to
the next
adjourn.
meeting.
Yeah.
oh, the date of the next
October 28th,
meeting?
Yeah.
October 28th.
October 28th here at 6:30 PM.
And move to adjourn.
Moved.
Sheldon,
Second.
second. Craig already did that.
Yeah.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed?
It's the first time it wasn't told me that made the motion to adjourn.
I know. Yeah, you're late here. Okay.
Yeah.